All right. So I just want to welcome everyone. For those of you whom I haven't met, my name is Madeline. I am one of the retreat managers at the Big Bear Retreat Center. When you come up, you'll meet me or one of my coworkers. And yeah, we just want to welcome you. This is our Wednesday lunchtime mindfulness program. It's freely offered with this drop-in format. And we're here every Wednesday for noon at noon for connection, community, and we're really happy to have you here joining the Big Bear Sangha. We're looking to grow our Sangha so that we're really happy that you're here as part of the community. And then as well, we invite teachers and folks who've recently been on retreat with us or who have a retreat coming up. And in fact, Gullu does have a retreat coming up with us at Big Bear Retreat Center in April with Trudy Goodman, Elsie Tran, and Gabrielle Hammond. And then we have another one with Gullu in May. So we're very lucky to have those coming up. Really excited about that. So let's see, a little housekeeping. This session is live streamed. So if for some reason you don't want your voice to be recorded, you're welcome to send me a question in the chat and I can ask the teacher for you. And yeah, I'm just going to offer a very short little background on Gullu. I think many of you have met him before, but if you haven't, I won't read every one of his impressive credentials, but I just want to share uh, one aspect of his background that I think is really unique, is the unique combination between his career as a corporate lawyer and his very deep understanding of the Dharma, with very serious training as a Dharma teacher through Spirit Rock's teacher training program, MBSR training, lots of other teaching credentials. He's a frequent teacher at Spirit Rock, and luckily he's now a frequent teacher at Big Bear. So we're really happy about that. So I think that's all I want to share. I'm going to turn it over to Gullu, and yeah, welcome everyone. Thank you, Gullu.
Thanks, Madeline. Nice to see everyone. Is my sound okay?
Yeah, it sounds good on my end. How
Okay.
about everybody else? Thumbs up. It's good. Okay.
So we'll do a little meditation, and then I wanted to talk about equanimity, and then we'll have a chance to do have some discussion. Um, as you'll see in my talk, I'm taking the position that the core or essence of equanimity is in non-resistance, surrender, allowing, yielding, non-contentiousness, could say metta. Um, so just, I like to sort of like encapsulate all that in the half smile of the Buddha. If you look at any of these Buddha statues, not like a big toothy grin, but there's just like a little smile, which is actually a practice instruction that it's actually profoundly supportive if we actually bring a little smile to our face. And if that feels contrived, then some idea of an inner smile, kind of like an inner attitude that is meeting every experience with some sort of friendliness. So finding a posture that is supportive, where you could be more or less upright if you're sitting, and some balance between restful and alert. Can close the eyes or soften the gaze, and bringing the attention inward to notice there's a body. You have a body, you're in a body, and just tuning in for a moment to whatever it is that this body is communicating to you in this moment. Right, notice what sensations are most prominent. I might notice some sense of pleasant sensations, some sensations not pleasant, and maybe some sensations are somewhere in between, neither pleasant nor unpleasant. And then noticing the attitude of the mind that is meeting this experience. Mind can be many things, but maybe might notice if there's resistance or if there's grasping, or if the mind is a little bit foggy, not quite tuned in, or maybe it's just fine, relaxed, open. And maybe taking a few intentionally deeper breaths, and on the exhale, inviting the body to soften. Just gentle invitation to release any extra tension, the forehead, the face, the jaw, the shoulders, and anywhere else in the body that could benefit from this kind of softening or releasing. And then letting the attention rest on the feeling of the breath, moving in and out of the body. Just this movement to temporarily seclude the mind from all its usual engagements, moving into a kind of simplicity of engagement, breathing in, aware of the in breath, breathing out, aware of the out breath. And everything else more or less fades into the background. Not trying to make anything happen, not trying to get somewhere or get something or get rid of something. Just resting in this awareness of the breathing body, and maybe with a slight inner smile, smile of interest or curiosity or wonder, a smile that softens how we're meeting this moment. And whenever the attention wanders from the breath, this is not a problem. We simply begin again. Simply Resting again, the attention on the feeling of the breath, moving in and out of the body, and letting everything else be more or less in the background. Many ways to engage with the experience of breathing. You might feel movement in the belly. Or maybe you're sensing the rising and falling of the chest. Or maybe there's a sense of feeling of air at the nostrils or the upper lip. Or maybe connecting with more subtle manifestations of breathing, the movement at the back of the body, maybe some movement in the shoulders. Or maybe a sense of tracing the breath from its initiation to its ending as it moves through various parts of the body. Or even a sense of whole body breathing, maybe even as if every cell in the body were independently breathing. So gentle effort to stay connected with the breath in whatever way feels most accessible, most pleasant. The attention stays soft but persistent, encouraging the body to continue to relax. Breathing in, knowing, feeling, sensing the in breath. Breathing out, knowing, feeling, sensing the out breath. Or just practicing being aware. As we continue to arrive more fully into this moment, some of the agitation of daily life begins to settle. Maybe there can be a sense of bringing the experience of breathing closer. Maybe it's a kind of zooming in, bringing into higher resolution the subtleties and nuances of the experience of the breath, like the moments of stillness and the cycle of breathing. And even that automatic impulse at the end of the exhale, something in us that wants to take another breath. That simple, subtle, automatic impulse. There's a kind of reverence or respect for this life. And then as we come to the end of our formal period of practice, inviting you to bring to mind someone or something that you are grateful for, visualizing this person or circumstance in your mind's eye or sensing in to what it's like to be in their presence. And then connecting fully with the experience of gratitude as a felt sense in the physical body. Maybe noticing where gratitude resides in the body. Does it have a shape? What's the flavor of the experience of gratitude? Let it be uplifting, let it be balancing. If it makes sense, or if it's available in this moment, maybe even some sense that the experience of gratitude is growing, both in intensity and in covering more and more of the body. Sense of a body pervaded with gratitude. And then inviting you to listen to the sound of the bell until you can no longer hear it. Okay, then inviting you to move the body in any way that feels supportive, helpful. And if you're able to turn on your camera, it would really be really great to see you. It's much more palpable. Thank you. When I can see the faces behind the words. Um, Thank you. It makes me very happy. Um, so I wanted to talk about equanimity today. Um, it is, in some ways, it's the fruition of the path when our equanimity is perfected. We have this kind of what the Buddha described as unshakable steadiness of mind. Um, when we're equanimous, we're not ruffled by the so-called eight worldly winds of gain and loss, praise and blame, success and failure, pleasure and pain. This is one of the words that uh, this word equanimity we get, which is a translation of some different Pali words, is actually a very good translation. Well, the translations we get are kind of like metta. I've never been quite happy with loving kindness as a translation, but equanimity is a really nice translation. Equanimity, equus meaning equal, animus meaning mind. It's a sense of balance of mind, uh, steadiness of mind. Um, uh, and as I say, it's kind of like considered somewhat to be the fruition of the path. And also, something I've noticed in working with beginners is it's often the first thing that people begin to notice as a fruit of the practice. It's like the seed and the flower, or the seed and the fruit. And it's a seed in another way because many of us come to meditation because we have some sense, whether we have this word equanimity or not, of some sense of um, the joy or advantage of a mind that is less agitated, less disturbed, less at effect of the vicissitudes of life that are never really under our control. Yeah, in the margins, we can control some things, but this is why the strength of equanimity lies in flexibility, the grace to yield, um, and then rise again. Kind of resilience, actually. Equanimity is a natural emergence from meditation practice. It's kind of like a mic drop moment. I could just meditate and equanimity will emerge and send you on your way. Um, in part, when we do meditation, like a focused awareness meditation, like we did together this morning, it calms the heart, settles the mind, reduces the level of agitation in the system. Um, and cumulatively, I'd say, like it's not. Someone once said, meditation is not a vending machine. It's more like a piggy bank. We make our little deposits and we're accumulating our rewards. Um, and if we're practicing Vipassana practice, where we're investigating more closely the nature of experience, we start to notice that it's always shifting, which prepares us in a way to not be so shocked or dismayed when the change is not in our favor. The more we sit with the changing nature of experience, the less personal it seems. I don't really choose these thoughts. I don't really choose these emotions, at least not in the moment. Um, they appear out of nowhere mysteriously, and if we don't feed them, they dissipate back into that nowhere. And almost as soon as you meditate, you begin to notice the kind of unsatisfactoriness that is woven into life being in a human body with a human heart. Yeah, the body aches, the heart aches. This is, we all have our measure of this, and it's actually really important because it's what motivates us to practice. But really understanding, the Buddha's seminal insight, usually shorthanded as there is suffering, um, tempers our expectations for what one can reasonably expect out of life. We can expect a lot, but we can't expect every moment to be pleasant and uh, joyful. So all this is these are all seeds of equanimity. This is often referred to as wise view. When we see these things, we can relax our resistance to things when they're difficult because we know they're always changing. And we know that invariably part of being in a human body, part of being in this incarnation is that we're subject to these unpleasant experiences. So in the well-known teaching of the second arrow, the Buddha outlines the what I call the typical pattern that leads to loss of equanimity. So a painful experience arises. This is the first arrow. It hurts. It's unavoidable. Um, but the uncultivated mind immediately reacts and resists. This shouldn't be happening. How can I escape this? We might even become preoccupied with getting rid of this unpleasant sensation or emotion. We might have anxious looping thoughts, trying to find the escape, and then maybe even resistance to those thoughts, which in themselves are quite unpleasant. Buddha called this an ox being enamored by its tail. He's like, we kind of move in circles with no progress. It takes a lot of energy, creates a lot of agitation. The next link in the chain that the Buddha describes is reaching for sense pleasures as an escape from the unpleasant. So the proverbial tub of ice cream when we're feeling a little down, our phone, distraction, intoxicants, anything that will just soothe this sting. And we get some relief, when I'm fully immersed in the latest Netflix limited series. I'm committed to limited series because I can sort of uh, not commit to like 10 seasons or something. Uh, but when I'm involved in that enterprise, the mind is not focused on my problems. There's a relief and absorption and distraction. But the relief is short lived. Uh, because when we are done, when the credits roll, it's not just that we're back where we started. Now I got to process all the conflict and the tension and the drama and the thing that I was watching on top of my own personal um, things that need to be processed. And in this world that we're living in, where there's so much in this world right now. Then the Buddha says comes identification. So I'm hurt, my life is ruined, something is wrong with me. We might even define ourselves in relation to what we're experiencing. I am anxious. I am depressed. As if that's all we are, forgetting that it's just an experience. So the resistance, the search for a fix, the seeking of sensual pleasures that don't quite do the trick, and this identification are the second arrow. The extra mental anguish we add to the physical and emotional pain that's already there. So the Buddha says when the mind is cultivated, the first arrow is still felt. Pain is present, but um, it kind of stops there. There's no dramatizing, no piling on, no urgent need to fix or flee. There's simply awareness. Anxiety is here. Sadness is here. And this shift, seemingly subtle shift from I am sad to sadness and is here is the first flowering of mindfulness. Really powerful moment. In that instant, the thought is seen as a thought rather than blindly followed. And in that, just that, the tension diminishes. And of course, when the fix is obvious, we take it. If I'm cold, I can put on a sweater. If I'm hungry, I can eat. If I've caused harm, I can try to make amends. This is not a prescription for inactivity. It's like the old joke, how many meditators does it take to change a light bulb? And the light bulb never gets changed. There's just a lot of noting darkness, 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 darkness. Yeah. Just because we can tolerate the darkness doesn't mean that we need to sit in the dark. But this training becomes essential when there is no easy fix. And, it's aspirational. It's very easy for me to sit here and say, meet every experience without resistance or problem solving or pleasure seeking. Don't take everything so personally. But the process of retraining the mind takes time, takes patience, takes endless repetition. A project of a lifetime, really. But it begins and it happens incrementally by noticing moments of non-equanimity. We notice the unpleasant experience and observe how the mind resists. We observe, we feel the agitation that resistance causes. We notice the longing for pleasure. We notice the reflex to personalize everything, to make it my problem, my flaw, or who I am. Sometimes people hear this teaching and then they say, then what? And it's another way of saying, how do I get rid of this unpleasant experience? The conditioning runs so deep that we assume relief comes only in the absence of the unpleasant. And the practice is inviting us to test a different hypothesis that ease of mind is possible even in the midst of what we do not like. And maybe this is controversial to say, I would say that the vast majority of our suffering actually comes from the second arrow. I have chronic lower back pain, and at times it's a 10 out of 10. The whole body is convulsing, every muscle in the torso is locked with as much tension as one can imagine, and I fall to the floor like a rag doll, unable to move, sometimes for days. A very, very painful experience. I wouldn't wish it on my worst enemy. Uh, and yet, the catastrophizing mind, the this is all never, all the things I can't do, the anger or resentment, the blame, all these things are actually more painful. And we don't have to figure anything out. This is like something I feel like is emerging for me in practice now, that it's just in the noticing. Mindfulness gathers data. Biconalio says, when mindfulness meets experience again and again, understanding ripens naturally. So we don't need to figure anything out. Mindfulness gathers the data and wisdom unfolds in its own ineffable way. Like maybe this data is processed at the level of the heart. So the heart of equanimity, how I started this time together, is the capacity to stay present with the unpleasant without collapsing or pushing it away. So we learn to relax the compulsion to fix every discomfort. And in doing that, we discover a mind that can stand steadily in the midst of all experience. So I just want to end with a quote on equanimity. A friend of mine, we went through teacher training together at Spirit Rock, discovered this woman, Jan Fraser, who had a spontaneous awakening 2003. She just like, I haven't read her book yet, so I don't know exactly what happened, but she had this spontaneous awakening. And um, my friend Cara figured out that lived, Jan lives a few towns over from where she lives in Vermont, and went and sat with her and kind of had an audience. And this is what Jan says. Um, Imagine this: whatever has weighed on you suddenly no longer weighs. It may still be there, a fact in your life, but it has no mass, no gravity. All that has ever troubled you is now just a feature of the landscape, like a tree or a passing cloud. Every bit of emotional and mental turmoil has ceased. The entire burden, some form of which has been with you as long as you can remember, is utterly, inexplicably gone. Into the startling emptiness flows a quiet joy that buoys you morning, moon, and night, that goes with you everywhere into any kind of circumstance, even into sleep. Everything you undertake happens effortlessly. You are happy, but for no reason. Nothing bothers you. You feel no stress. When a problem arises, you know what to do, you do it, and then you let it go. Because your equanimity is disconnected from anything in your outer life, you know that no matter what challenge you are handed for the rest of your life, peace will sustain. Um, so Cara, who's she's got a toddler, and at the time she was very pregnant when she met Jan. Uh, a teacher, like busy, a lot of responsibility. And Jan says to Kara, I could just sit here all day and stare at the wall and be in bliss. And Kara immediately says, well, why wouldn't you do that? Like, that sounds pretty good. Uh, and what Jan said is, there's so many things I love. There's so much I care about. And I just thought that was such a profound side effect of equanimity, which is that then we get to act out of love. When I look at my own actions, like how many actions, what percentage of my actions are motivated by aversion? And for me, it's a huge, I'm kind of like an aversive temperament. So, like, I see problems and then I feel compelled to fix them. Um, but what if we were all acting from a place of love? How different our world would be. And in Jan's description of equanimity, the storms of life don't disappear. They lost their mass, their gravity. So my experience, myself and working with others, is that equanimity unfolds naturally and incrementally. Um, and anyone that sincerely practices and dares to notice that wherever there's some difficulty, we can, some part of us, something in that midst of that difficulty can soften. Some little, like, even an iota of letting go. And that process accumulates and then becomes more and more the way we go through the world. This is not beyond reach. Maybe the sort of perfect equanimity where nothing has any weight or gravity um, is, beautiful aspiration, but uh, I feel in the 30 years I practiced, I look back at the things that used to knock me off balance, and it's almost comical. So I'll stop there. We have a few minutes for one or two comments or questions.
I have a question about reaching. Thank you. First of all, thank you. This was really very helpful. So when you feel the feelings and you want to reach for the cigarette or the whatever, what do you do? And what do you do not to do that, or should you just reach for it? Should you just do it? Is my question.
Well, I think if you just do it with full awareness of how unsatisfactory a solution it is to the thing you're trying to solve. But really, I think what the Buddha counsels is restraint. Like he would say, contemplate the disadvantage of the thing that you're going to do. Is this really going to lead to the alleviation of suffering for myself and others, or is it not? And then the practice becomes like sitting with the experience of that longing.
But when you're not not in a meditation, it's just you're working or something, and it comes up. Just go sit with it while you before.
Yeah, I mean, you can do what you're doing, you can continue what you're doing, but you can be aware of that longing for that, whatever it is, the cigarette or the ice cream or um, and often, when we sit with the experience of the longing, rather than trying to push it away or ignore it or giving into it, something is revealed.
It what?
Something is revealed. Like I find craving, if I sit with cravings, they tend to dissipate or I forget about them. Um, and I think there's a little bit of trial and error in all this, a bit of like we try it on, we see how it's working for us, and we adjust. when things are super intense, it's certainly like, I mean, I would discourage smoking because of the health impacts, but when there's a lot of intensity, sometimes a little bit of healthy distraction is healthy. You know, like if we're just consuming all the bad news in the world all the time, that's not really sustainable. We need to laugh, to be entertained, to be a little bit distracted, but to do it consciously, not compulsively. For me, that's the freedom. I can choose to engage my mind in a way that's supportive rather than being compelled to do it.
Thank you very
Yeah.
much.
Did someone else have their hand up? I thought someone raised their Zoom hand. Victoria, was that you?
Yeah, that was me. Thanks. Um, Two things. What is the Jan that you were talking about? Is that Jan Willis or somebody
Yeah.
else?
Jan Fraser.
Oh,
F
Jan
R
Fraser. Okay.
E
Do you
I.
spell that with an I? Frasier?
That's a Z. F
Oh,
R A Z I E R.
okay.
Yeah.
Is there you read a quote? Is there a way to could I find that online
Yeah,
probably or not?
it's on her website actually.
Oh, okay. Is
Yeah,
your website just her name?
I think so.
Okay. Sorry, I really like the quotes. I wanted to revisit it.
That's
So
a good quote.
Frazier. Okay,
Yeah.
thanks. And then my other, I wanted to ask you if you're familiar with The Way Out, the book about, it's a book by Alan Gordon, who's actually, I think, in LA. It's called The Way Out, and it's a book about pain reprocessing therapy. I thought of it because you were talking about your back pain, and I have chronic pain. And I know a lot of people who have chronic pain
Yeah.
who but anyway, I just wanted to sort of give a shout out to that. It's a really, really fascinating theory. Well, actually, practice. He's actually helped. Now he's trained a lot of people, and they've helped a lot of people with chronic pain.
Hmm.
The and for me, it dovetails. I don't, as far as I know, he's not Buddhist, to me, it dovetails really beautifully with mindfulness practice and meditation because the principle is that it's that it's actually we have to retrain the brain in how it responds to pain, and that a lot of pain is actually I mean it's all real pain, but a lot of it is are sort of is it comes from like alarms that are really well trained in the neural pathways.
Yeah.
The brain is so accustomed to interpreting the pain that it sort of goes haywire. It's not very scientific what I just said,
The
but
second arrow. It's the
um,
second.
yeah, it dovetails so beautifully with that. So I just wanted to recommend that to anybody that is dealing with chronic pain or interested in it or knows somebody who has it. That it's called The Way Out by
Yeah.
Alan Gordon, and
Yeah.
I'm already my doctor's working through it with me, and it's I've already noticed differences because it's especially because for me it goes really beautifully with with the practice of mindfulness and meditation.
Thank you for that.
Thanks.
I'll check it out. Um, so this group is offered freely. Um, it was a really pleasure to be here. This is how I enjoy spending my time. And most of my livelihood, believe it or not, comes from the generosity of communities like this. Um, a radical experiment to see if I can make a go of living in this way. And so anything that you're able to offer will be graciously uh, received with gratitude. And, you know, this is a continuation of 2,500 years of uninterrupted generosity as the teachings. It's like amazing that they made it to us across cultures and across time, and almost eliminated in India through wars, but kind of like somehow, some way, um, we have access to these teachings in a way never before. It's all online. These translations of vast texts are all online, and that's because of the generosity of people who stewarded it and guarded it and passed it along. So this tradition that we've kept alive is really an homage to that tradition of generosity. And it kind of works out because people have different means, and those that um, have modest means give a little or don't give every time. And those of us who have abundance can be more generous, and somehow it all balances out. So thank you for your practice. Thank you in advance for your support. And Madeline, you want to close us out?
Yeah, absolutely. Gulu, thank you so much for today. I completely forgot I was even moderating. I was so engrossed in your sharing. Thank you so much. It was just so beautiful. And yes, I put links if anyone is able to offer Donna to our beloved teacher today, Gulu. I put all the links for his website in the chat. And also inviting you to join us back next week. We have Banu Harrison will be with us next week. So please join us next Wednesday and check out the retreats coming up with Gulu and his amazing collaborators at the Big Bear Retreat Center this coming April and May. And I believe those are on our website already. If you just go to bigbearretreatcenter.org, you can check those out, make plans for next spring already right now. So thank
Thanks,
you.
everyone.
Yeah. Have a wonderful day, everyone. We'll see you next Wednesday.
See you
Thank
next time.
you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Good night. Goodbye.
Bye.